The first thing that we want to do is to start Microsoft Excel. Once we have that started, let us go and save it as case1.xls. Now, according to the requirements, the first sheet in the workbook is the table of contents. The first thing you will enter in the table of contents is the purpose of the workbook. The purpose of this workbook is to analyze the results of different scenarios under which a decision can be taken on whether a legacy system should be replaced with a new SAP. Then you're going to enter the summary of the workbook. For this, the first thing you're going to write is the worksheet and then the content of that worksheet. The first worksheet is documentation, which is what we're working on right now. It is a description of the contents of the workbook. The next thing that we will enter is the one-time costs. This is a list of all the one-time costs that would be incurred if we were to switch to this SAP system. The second is the recurring costs. These are a list of all recurring costs. Then we have the recurring benefits, which is a list of all the recurring benefits. And then we have the economic feasibility worksheet, which will basically contain the economic feasibility calculations. Finally, we will have the break-even chart, which will basically contain the break-even chart for the above analysis. Then you will enter the name of the person who created this workbook, which is you, since this is an individual assignment. And then you will enter the last modified date, which will indicate when you last modified your workbook. Go ahead and make it look pretty. Margin center. And then save. Don't forget to hit save at every point as you create your workbook. The second step is to create the one-time cost sheet. For this, you will make two columns, the one-time costs and the dollar amount. Remember that because this is cost, they are all going to be negative amounts. The first thing that we will enter in the one-time costs for our case that we're discussing here are the software licenses. The amount, because they are negative, will be $750,000, and this is how you will enter it. The moment it turns red, you know that it's a negative amount because it's in parentheses and it turns red. The next thing that you will invest in one time is the hardware. The amount for that is $75,000. Then you have the network and communications upgrades. And that amount is going to be $25,000. The training costs are also going to be $25,000. And finally, the configuration and implementation costs are going to be $3 million. You will add all of this up to give you the total one-time costs as AutoSum, and then select the 5 cells, hit enter. You now have the one-time cost sheet set up. Don't forget to hit save. The next sheet that you want to rename or create is the recurring costs. The easiest way to rename a sheet is by double-clicking on it and then typing in the name that you want to give it. In this case, recurring costs. We will do the same thing for recurring costs. Again, because they are costs, don't forget to put the parentheses. And don't forget to total it up. Create the next sheet, which is the recurring benefits, in the same way that you create the previous 2 sheets. Double click on the columns to adjust it to the complete length that you want it to be. Now remember, because these are benefits, you want to make them positive values. Finally, you will have, just like every other time, the total recurring benefits. Now you will create the economic feasibility sheet. We will only set it up and not fill it up in this part of the tutorial. The first thing you will enter is the discount rate. Leave it blank for now. For this example, I will show you a 5-year projection, but in your case, you will have to do a 20-year projection. Don't forget to add the present value factor, which is crucial to factor in depreciation over the years. So what we will do is that we will enter all the recurring value of benefits, and then we will enter the present value factor and the present value factor of benefits to give us the net present value of all benefits. We will do the same with the costs. However, for costs, we will also have an additional field called one-time costs, and then we have the recurring costs. Remember that the present value factor will only apply to recurring costs and benefits. Finally, we are going to calculate the overall net present value. The last sheet that we will create is going to be the break-even chart. For this, we are going to simply enter all the years that we have calculated the projections for, and we will plot it against the overall net present value. Now we have the sheets, table of contents, one-time costs, recurring benefits, economic feasibility, and the break-even chart. This concludes the first part of our tutorial.